Crowhill here. Today we review an ale and discuss Pearl Davis. Hello and welcome to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crowhill. Good evening, Pigweed.
Good evening, Crowhill.
What's on your mind today?
Well, I mean, there's so many men out there supporting women's rights.
Yeah.
Do women sometimes support men's rights?
What are men's rights?
It's a good question. Why does that seem like a weird sound?
What are men's rights?
What?
Is it our right to stay on the ship while the women and children get off on the...
Yes, your right to go to war.
Yeah, your right to go to war. And,
yes, they're actually... You wouldn't know, since we're saturated in feminism, you wouldn't know that there actually are people out there who are concerned about men. And get this, wait for it, sometimes they're women.
What a surprise.
Yes, and we'll talk about one of them.
Okay, very good. But first,
right.
I want to get into this 90/tilde heavy. Whatever that means.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
right.
Okay, by Belhaven. This is a rich Scottish ale, which messes with my brain because I thought we had decided...
I thought we already went through this, Scotch and Scottish.
Yes, I thought we had decided that Scotch were the stronger ones and Scottish were the milder ones. But this is a 7.4, so anyway, they call it a rich Scottish ale.
Yes, I thought the wee heavies
were the Scotch ones. And the easy way to remember that is Scotch is a liquor. Yeah. But anyway, what do you expect out of a Scottish ale?
Sometimes there's some peatiness, some maltiness, no discernible hoppiness. And
this is right down that line. Wow, this is delicious. It's got a little bit of a sweet edge to it.
Kind of a dark copper.
Yeah. So this goofy thing on the label, I don't know if you guys can see the label, but
90/tilde.
So what that refers to is shillings.
Huh.
And the way that they would historically rank Scottish ales was by how many shillings it cost per barrel. So a 60 shilling ale, known as a light ale, these would be 2 to 3.5% alcohol.
Jeez.
Yeah, I know. That's 2%. Come on. And then a 70 shilling
Breakfast ale.
You're right. Also called a heavy ale. These are slightly higher alcohol content, 3 to 5.4, which still doesn't seem all that strong. Or 3.5 to 4. An 80 shilling would be 4 to 5.5, which like every beer nowadays is at least 4 to 5.5. And then 90 to 160 shilling would be the strong ales. 90 shilling being somewhat uncommon and the 160 shilling or wee heavy being very strong.
But I thought wee heavy, I thought it was served in a wee little glass because it was so strong compared to what they were drinking at the time. Now you can get a Pilsner, 9%.
That's right.
But in the day, you only got, so it was more expensive, it was more shillings, and in a smaller glass. Is that what you're saying? If you wanted something as strong as this,
that's the way it goes when you go to a brewery and you get the 16 ounces of one beer, and then you order the really strong beer and they put it in a smaller glass. No, I wanted 16 ounces of that one.
Is that why it's in a slightly smaller bottle?
Oh, that's just the crazy Brits. Sorry, not Brits, the Scots, but 11.2 fluid ounces because they're on the stupid metric system. So
330.
330. Boy, what a obvious number that is. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Weird Europeans with their strange bottles. Just make it 12 ounces for heaven's sakes.
Okay. Right. So what is it? What did you say? 7.4.
7.4.
And delish.
Very good. Very, very tasty. Belhaven is a good brewery, and this one is definitely worth trying. If you have any interest in malty ales, definitely give this one a try. So Pearl Davis, I had never even heard of the woman until Andrew Klavan interviewed her.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that's when you introduced her to me, but I thought you had already been familiar with her.
Never heard a peep about her.
Okie doke.
And then Andrew Klavan interviewed her, and then Michael Knowles interviewed her. And I listened to both those interviews, and I thought, I was I like Andrew Klavan, I like Michael Knowles, but they did not distinguish themselves well in their interviews with Pearl Davis. I thought they were playing gotcha games. I thought they were not really listening to what she was saying. I thought they were kind of playing games with her and not taking her seriously.
All right, so she's a 26-year-old young lady from Chicago. She's not been in the game like these gentlemen have been. And
into volleyball or something like that?
Yeah. Actually, she could have made her bones in this topic that we're about to discuss while living in London, where she went to play semi-professional volleyball.
Okay, there you go.
So there you have it. That's that's Pearl, and she is an anti-feminist.
Yeah.
And anti-traditionalist. She seems to be
kind of anti-everything.
Pissing off everybody, and does not come across as an intellectual heavyweight.
No.
But she does not budge.
Yeah.
And she's kind of a delight to see.
So, yeah, I had the same reaction. She's not the brightest bulb, honestly. She doesn't have a great vocabulary. She doesn't seem to have the same kind of logical presentation that you'd expect out of Knowles or Klavan or somebody like that. And so she's...
But what she's going on is, but I've talked to 1,000 people.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know. She doesn't come at you with the intellectual degree and the intellectualism. She's like, I'm just telling you...
These are the facts.
Yes. I'm not arguing from a position.
Yes.
I'm telling you, I've been there, I've talked to people, and this is what's going on.
Yes, and that's the appeal. I mean, there's two things...
She is charming in that way.
There's two things that are very appealing about her. One is that she doesn't come across as some intellectual heavyweight trying to promote some kind of a big idea.
Yeah.
And the other thing is she has an honesty to her. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. And the other side of it is that, as you say, she spoke with 1,000 women, and she has the stats like from dating apps and other kinds of things. She has those things relatively
at the ready.
At the ready. So she's dealing with the way things are, not the way they ought to be.
Right. And so she leans conservative.
Yeah.
And so she goes on to what, in a sense, are her allies, to the Daily Wire, but they are so pro-marriage.
Traditionalism, yeah.
And traditionalisms, and what does she call the
trad cons?
The trad cons.
Yes.
And she's like, yeah, but you're wrong. Like, yes. I don't want you to be wrong.
Yeah, right. Yes. So my
agenda is not that you're wrong, but go ahead.
What Knowles and Klavan and those guys would want to say is, yeah, sure, the world is messed up. Yes, marriage is messed up. Yes,
hold on. We haven't established her position. Her position is that marriage is a raw deal for men.
Yes.
And I don't know why any man would get into it. And she gives you the statistics, and she talks about how horrible women are. And because these conservatives are pro-marriage, they have to defend marriage. And she's like, yeah, but the numbers don't bear it out. But
yes,
go ahead.
So the interesting, that's exactly right. It's a good summary. And the interesting thing about it is the Knowles Klavan approach is, okay, fine. So find a good girl at church and pray a lot, and and her response is, wait a minute, I know those statistics too.
Yes.
And they're
just as bad.
The church women aren't doing any better than anybody else. And you're just pretending here. You're trying to say, okay, go meet a Latin mass girl who, all this other kind of stuff, and make sure that you do this, go to church and pray. And she's saying, okay, fine. So you're going to be 5% better off than everybody else. But, it's still a pretty bad deal.
Right. So she's like, it's a bad deal because women are awful. Mm-hmm. And they're saying, yeah, but go to church and get a good woman, and then you won't have those problems. She's saying, no, those problems exist there too.
Exactly. Right? And so they're coming from an ideological perspective, and she's coming from a...
All I'm saying is
that's not the way it actually works.
And so the things that she's talking about, a lot of it is divorce court.
Yeah.
And how it works for men in marriage. Yeah. And citing example after example of women just deciding they could do better and take half what the man has and automatically are assumed to be the better parent. So they get the custody and they get the money, and the guys get effed. And I don't know why any man would ever would get in until this legal situation changes. I don't know why any man would want to get into marriage, and of course the marriage traditionalists are horrified by that because they're already like, marriage is already in trouble. I don't need somebody who's basically a conservative
making it worse,
discouraging people from getting married. Yes. I'm trying to promote.
Yes,
but she doesn't budge. Yes, really,
she doesn't budge. And an interesting thing about her perspective is she's saying, okay, you guys are saying that, okay, go date a Latin mass woman who blah blah blah, right, wears a thing on her head in church and everything else, and she's saying, okay, look, I know the stats. It doesn't work that way. And if these women were so great as you say, why aren't men like beating down the doors to get to them?
Yeah.
So she's taking a reality-based, market-based, statistics-based approach to it, where Knowles and Klavan and other people are kind of just promoting an agenda.
Yeah. All right. So give me some more of her general statements.
Yeah. So I tried to take some notes on some things that she said. One, women can't be criticized on the internet.
Right.
Which is clearly true. You criticize a woman and everybody in the world's going to pile on you.
The first time I heard somebody from what is called the manosphere, I realized how seeped in feminism I had grown up. And then I hear like a men's rights guy. The men's rights guy was the former head of Now.
You're talking about Warren.
Yeah, you're onto something
Warren
there.
Something, yeah.
Right. So actually, a man was the head of Now, who then later flipped the script, and said, "You know how bad things are for men versus women." And because I had just been so drenched in life is terrible for women and men have all the advantages, that you start hearing it from the other side. And you're like, well, which is what's called the red pill. Is that
Right.
You're like going, you know what? You're actually right. I've been swimming in this water for so long that I didn't know it was there. And so she's swimming in the water, and she's saying, everything is, all of this women victimhood is nonsense, and women have all of the advantages, and you probably have some more in there.
So, a fish doesn't know that he's wet. And so we are in such a matriarchal society, and we don't even realize it because the fish doesn't know he's wet. If a man says a woman isn't wife material, is he allowed to have that opinion? Right?
Please.
Because if you say something like that, if you say, "Oh, you've slept with 20 guys and you have 3 tattoos and you're overweight," that's not wife material. All of a sudden, everybody's going to jump on you and say that you're a horrible person, and you can't. You're not allowed to have that opinion. I would think that people have a right to say who they want to marry or who they don't want.
Harvard ended up with Claudine Gay after they got rid of Larry Summers for saying something as simple as the reason that we have more men at the top of the math department is because more men want to be at the top of the math department and they are better at it.
Yeah.
All right.
You're gone.
Off with your head.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
We don't care about your statistics. We don't care about anything.
Right.
We only care about women's feelings.
Women's feelings are all that matter. Right. How about this? If you post for attention, okay, you're a woman on the internet. You're on Instagram. You're on all that.
So these are pearl quotes.
Pearl quotes. Yeah.
Pearly things.
If you post for attention, and you get it, you don't get to determine what the attention is like. Right.
Exactly. Rate me 1 out of 10. And then you're a monster if you say, 5 maybe, if you're lucky. How dare you? That's you hate women. You hate all women. I hate the word. I love all of the wokey words.
Yeah.
I hate the word misogyny more than all of them. Because this fake idea that any criticism of a woman is a psychopathic problem that you have. Misogynists, those are like serial killers.
Yeah.
But if you have a if you don't glorify all women all of the time, that's become the blanket term of misogyny.
Yeah, that's pretty stupid.
Stand it.
Traditional conservatives believe in holding men accountable. A man can't be broke. He has to take care of his family. He has to stay in shape. When women do something wrong, it's always because they were lied to. It's always because of feminism. This is something that came up repeatedly in these interviews. She's saying like you hold men accountable.
Yeah.
You tell them to get a good job. You tell them to dress decently. You tell them to get in shape. You tell them to do this and that. But you never do the same thing with women. Because if women are wrong, you say, oh, sorry, you were deceived by feminism. No, and Pearl is saying, no, take some responsibility. You're responsible for the stupid things that you believe.
Yeah.
Come on,
women don't like to hear it.
I know.
And she doesn't care.
Yeah, that's right. Women, here's a very controversial thing that she said. Women like to be objectified. Because women are always complaining about being objectified.
Oh, yeah. So what is all of the surgery, the 4 hours in front of the mirror before you go out, you absolutely don't want anybody to check you out. You don't want ugly guys to check you out.
Yes. There's this great video I saw on YouTube a while ago. It was I can't remember the title. It'll come to me. But Women Are Jerks in Bars. That's what it was called. And it shows this woman in a bar where some not particularly attractive guy comes up and he's entirely polite and decent and, he's just trying to approach her in a nice way.
And she's a jerk.
And she is like, ooh, gross, get away from
Creep!
me. And then this apparently attractive, I don't really know what an attractive guy looks like, but this apparently attractive guy comes up and starts saying these objectively creepy things. Like, I followed you here off the highway and I was taking pictures of you. He's like saying all this like creepy stuff.
Right.
And she
looks past all of it.
She looks past all of it and turns to her girlfriend and says, do you mind if I go home with him? She's like, oh, I'd be mad at you if you didn't,
Men are awful. Yeah, there is a Twitter account, right? Women are awful. And
that's the name of the Twitter account?
Yeah, it's the Twitter account. And it's just situations like that, where the guy asks a girl out on the street, and she dismisses him, and then he gets in his Ferrari, and she comes running over, and then he gets out of the Ferrari and gets a golden shovel out of the trunk and hands it to her.
That's pretty good. Yeah. When women have choice, watch what they do. That's one of her principles, is if you look at, people are complaining that marriage is falling apart. And the question is, why is marriage falling apart? Is it men's choices or it's women's choices? Mm-hmm. And she's saying it's women's choices. Because when women have maximum choice is when they're, 21, 22, 23. Are they choosing to settle down and have kids and have a marriage and all that kind of stuff?
Right. That's when they have peak value.
Yeah. So I think that's an interesting perspective. Women only cry about objectification when they can't get what they want out of being objectified.
Good.
In all of history, there have always been concubines. They have a place. Now this one really jumped out at me because she's generally speaking a fairly conservative person. But she's saying, look, let's not look at this ideologically. Let's look at this factually. This kind of gets back to what we were saying before.
Yeah.
She's not saying this is the way things ought to be. She's saying this is the way things are.
Right.
And this is an example of that. There's always been concubines. There have always been prostitutes. That's the way it is. She talks about simping a lot.
She simps a lot.
Yeah.
And from what I can gather, beta males who are just trying to get the approval of women, kind of a thing,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
So instead of stand up and be the opposite of stand up and be a man.
Yes.
Is what do you need me to do now, honey?
Yes, and always making excuses. That's the simping side of things.
She does. When she says simp, she's not saying it kindly.
No. So now she has some fairly controversial things to say. She says, when women lead, societies and relationships go to hell. which is kind of rough.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Let me not stick my neck out on that one just yet. Go ahead.
All right. Why can't we have a conversation about women without but men? I thought that was interesting.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. How about this one? She says, women should submit to their husbands in all things, which is a quote from the Bible.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, this gets back to her kind of traditionalist side of things. And she uses that against what she's really down on trad con women.
It's so fun. I mean, it's so funny that she has no ally. Like, that would be her
Yeah, that would
ally.
be her natural ally.
And she's trashing them too.
Exactly, yeah. So one of the things that came up that I thought was pretty interesting is she was saying, what percentage of women today are marriageable?
Oh, go ahead.
And then she defined marriageable as not overweight, no tattoos, and what was the other thing? It's like, body count below 5 or something like that.
I mean, have a job.
Yeah. I'm not even sure if job was on the list, honestly.
Right.
I think it was not overweight, no tattoos, body count below 5. I'm not sure it was much more than that. And she said it was something like 2%.
Right.
And
so there's this thing I was going to say for the end, but let me just jump in now because it seems to serve. I see so many threads on Twitter that are like before and afters of. Or just pictures of women. It could be either way. But it shows tattoos and piercings and colored hair and the asymmetrical hair.
Yeah, right.
And look, before I got my lips blown up.
Right.
And all of the comments are always, men never asked for this.
Yes.
And so...
what's causing them to do it?
It's this feminist idea where they're going to say, I refuse to bow to the traditional standards of beauty, and guess what? You have succeeded. Mm-hmm. You look awful. Only your girlfriends are congratulating you.
Yes.
And your boyfriends are going, well, you probably don't have boyfriends.
Yeah.
And guys are going, what are you doing? With the shave on the side and the long on the other, none of us are asking for this.
I ran into this at work so many times where some woman would come into the office with a really short haircut, and all the girls would say, "Oh, that's so super cute." Blah 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 blah. And I'm going, I was like, "No, you look terrible.
Yeah,
you looked better with your hair longer."
Yeah, yeah. You know what? Like basically, like Pearl Davis. If you have straight hair, guess what? Part it in the middle, let it go to slightly over shoulder length, and you know what? You're done. You're 1970s. Look at Woodstock photos. All right, where it's cut off jean shorts or a sundress and regular, and leave your hair alone, and don't pierce stuff, and you're not doing anything for anybody.
No, nobody else likes that.
Nobody likes that.
Yeah. How about this one? This was pretty bold. I prefer prostitutes to most trad con women. At least the prostitutes are honest.
Well, you know where that one comes from? I don't know if you've been following her lately. It's all about this OnlyFans chick.
Oh, yeah.
Who has gone full Christian. Yeah. And she has been laying into her all day, every day about what a freaking phony.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was this one. Don't be a prostitute and then find God at 29.
Yeah.
And 29 is significant because the 30 is like when... in the sort of manosphere lore,
right.
30 is kind of when you hit the wall. In your 20s, you're much more valuable. Once you hit 30, then you start thinking, hey, wait a minute, how come I don't have any kids? And that sort of thing.
Right. And now, but I was waiting till I established my career, and now I'm rich enough to have my own fancy apartment, and I don't need a man. And wow, guess what? I want a man, and now
guess what? I want kids,
and I'm not that desirable.
Right. Yeah. So that particular woman was some OnlyFans. No OnlyFans, I think, was also on the list of things that being marriageable.
yeah.
They don't have an OnlyFans.
I mean, talk about a deal breaker.
Exactly.
For a dude, hopefully.
But that's another thing. Women can't be criticized on the internet. Is if a man finds out that a woman has an OnlyFans account and then says, "Okay, bye." then
now you're judging or something.
Yeah. Somehow that's not right. But this woman who had this OnlyFans account, and then now she's had some sort of conversion, and she's
she's
Christian.
Praised to the high heel.
And Pearl's response to that is, can't you like take a year off, be out of the public eye, and just spend some time trying to be a decent person, rather than like all of a sudden trying to go from I'm gonna be the darling.
Right. I'm gonna whore myself out with eyes on me, and now I'm going to go full Christian because to get more eyes on me.
To get more eyes, just in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she ain't blind at all, and I think she's got the right instinct.
She does, because it's just attention seeking, and if you've really converted, then you should be thinking, wait a minute, I should be re-examining my life. I shouldn't be out trying to just get attention. Many women screw up their own lives and then make it everyone else's problem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And, go ahead.
Yeah. And so today I was listening to one of her things. She says, I'm not the enemy. The real enemy is these simps and these old, bitter, single women with nothing better to do. Oh, my God. She's rough.
She's
very, very rough. Yeah.
I didn't worry about it either.
Old, bitter women lie to younger women because they don't want to be alone in their misery.
Oh, my goodness, right? Oh, yes. You can be beautiful at any age.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, we should... Sports Illustrated needs to put more 70-year-olds on their swimsuit issue.
That's right. I know. Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Oh, really?
So, yeah,
right.
Women are fatter than ever. They're sluttier than ever. They have more mental disorders, more tattoos, more drinking. But we're supposed to all go, yay, this is what I want.
Yes. Wow. Let's talk about women's lib. That is so empowering.
Yeah, right. How about this? Women who don't take their husband's last name... When women don't take their husband's last name, they're just not that into them.
I saw a study not long ago that men have a lower opinion of men whose wives have not taken their last name.
Now, this is a cultural thing, of course, because other cultures have different standards about this. But in the United States, it is traditional for the woman to take the last name. And when a woman doesn't in the United States, then yes, there's this question like, why? What's going on here?
I've heard more than one time from Mrs. Pigweed that she didn't know that was an option. And I'm like, I know. Because it is an option in Mexico.
Oh.
And here, when she finds out later that, wait a minute, what? I could have kept my own cool Mexican last name and not have your difficult to pronounce last name? I said, yes, you could have, but
Pigweed isn't all that hard to pronounce.
That's true. But that has passed. And, I hear about that once in a while. But yeah.
So women who are into a guy will get on a plane, get on a boat to be with you. So the thing I was listening to today, she was talking about that.
Oh, my wife's not really into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so we don't do that because she's not going to make the effort.
Yeah. So she was talking about signals that a woman is really into you. If a woman is into you, she's going to move heaven and earth to be with you. And all right, did you know that she's been blocked and demonetized on several social media platforms?
I mean, it's unpopular, but I mean, how
How
dangerous is that?
I know she has other opinions. What's the problem here?
Hold on, let me go back to the other one here. Did you? There was a thread for a little while about how she thought date night was super lame.
Yeah,
and kind of in that same sense, it's like. So she doesn't want to just be with you, as that's what she's saying. Like she doesn't want to just hang out with you at home. You need to.
I'm not sure.
Which I don't have a problem with. I don't have a problem with date night, especially if you have kids.
No, exactly. I don't have a problem with date night, and I'm not endorsing everything that Pearl says. I agree with her in some cases and not in others, but. Like date night, I think it's a good idea for husband and wife to have some romance and some time alone and that sort of thing. And date night, that's just one way.
Harsh on that.
That's just one way to kind of make it happen. So I watched one video today, which really surprised me. She was playing the piano and singing a song that she wrote.
She has a very interesting, unique, and quite pleasant voice.
Yeah, I was surprised.
And of course, and the theme of it was what?
I'll be the villain if I have to. It was very interesting.
Which is a straight up pearl, because it's like, all right, I mean, I know you all think something's wrong with me, but guess what? As they say, bring the receipts.
That's right. So I'm gonna finish up my notes with this one. She had a segment on, if you want to trigger women, this is how to do it. And the first one is, if you say younger women are hotter.
I mean,
and she says,
it's the things that are actually true that you don't want to, that you're not allowed to say.
Yes, exactly. Things that they're obviously objectively true. She says people who are triggered by this are narcissists. They're average looking and no one in their life has told them that they're not the shit.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Number 2, men prefer virgins.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. The best women tend to marry before 25.
Yeah.
And then she says, why can't women admit that the A+ women get chosen first? It's kind of like,
no, right?
It's like you're getting chosen for
dodgeball.
Dodgeball, exactly. The top people get chosen first.
That's so unfair that the most athletic guy gets chosen first.
I know, it's so unfair.
It's so unfair.
So it's just the way it goes. Anything that reminds women that they age triggers them.
All right.
Okay. And men don't want single mothers.
Hello.
Yeah, that seems pretty obvious. Anything that indicates that women are not the shit. Women will never have the high value that high value men have. You will never win if you think that you are the prize. I thought that was interesting. She talks a bit about that idea of women thinking that they're this great prize. And she's saying, you know, even at your best, you're really not the prize. So, you know,
you got to bring more to the table.
There's a lot of harsh stuff that she has to say, but it's a voice worth hearing.
Yeah, right. So I read a couple of articles that said that she sort of moved into the slot of Andrew Tate when he went to jail, and that her numbers, you know, so they're plotting it by numbers, went up, and that she is filling in his role. I don't know enough about Andrew Tate.
Yeah, what I've heard, I don't like.
I think, well, if they're saying the same thing, well, she's saying it in a much more pleasant way, because he just seems like, he seems kind of awful.
Yeah, he does seem awful. And Pearl isn't going around abusing women the way Andrew Tate seems to be doing. Now, I don't know a lot about him either, but I don't like the guy.
I don't have a good opinion of him, so I don't think that's a fair characterization. Other than, you know, she identifies men as victims in the world of feminism, and I think so. They probably share that. Yeah. But or you know, the manosphere or whatever. She's sort of unique, but now she is still single. Yeah. And I mean, is she going to be a traditional wife when she ties the knot and take the man's side? I'm guessing.
Let me be a little harsh on Pearl. She's a decent looking woman. She's not great looking. She's a decent looking woman.
I imagine she's tall if she's a volleyball player. I can't tell.
I know. Can't tell. She's probably tall. She seems to have a good attitude about a lot of things. Yeah. But you know what man wants to marry a super opinionated woman?
Right. I mean, she could put that in her list of Yeah. You're right. This is, you know, not only do they not like tattoos, piercing, and colored hair, they don't like an excessively opinionated woman.
Yeah. And nobody likes an excessively opinionated anybody. But, so I remember there was a time, I don't know, 15 years ago, where there was a series of attractive, blonde, conservative commentators. Yeah. Ann Coulter and Megyn Kelly and some other bunch of women who at that time were not married. Megyn Kelly is actually married, but there's a whole bunch of them that were single. And I remember thinking,
Could you imagine being married to Ann Coulter?
I know.
I think she rocks. In her intelligence and her confidence and her way to just shoot down people in arguments and stuff like that.
She's fantastic, but I don't want to come home to that. Good grief! Right. So you have these really sharp-tongued women, and you're thinking, no, I don't want that.
Yeah. Although I'm guessing Pearl would dial it back for her for the right husband, for the right man. Yeah. Let's just say.
Well, she says that if a woman's into you, she'll get on a plane, get on a boat, do whatever. So maybe she will dial it back.
Yeah. She'll change her name and whatever. Now, she also says that women are terrible leaders.
Yes.
And that men need to lead more. It's a little harsh.
It is harsh.
A lot of it's harsh. But let's. So women have taken over education.
Yes.
How's that going?
Education has been worse and worse and worse.
Public education is terrible, run by women. Mm-hmm. How about the last presidents that have been dragged before Congress have all been women and or plagiarizers.
Yes.
All women, some of which are plagiarizers, who are not showing genuine leadership and standing up and protecting their campuses.
True.
How's the publishing? Is that more women?
There are a lot of women in publishing. Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
Did you know that women in the office? There are statistics to bear this out. Women would rather work for a man than for a woman.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm talking about So the future is female. So let's imagine all of these industries that are not dominated by women. Mm-hmm. How about with hospitals and healthcare?
Right.
Dominated by women. The airline industry, the armed forces, police and public safety.
Yeah.
If the future is female, we're effed. Speaking of Fs. So I'm just saying, Pearl, I'm on Pearl's side in terms of couldn't we have more appreciation for the role of traditional marriage? Although she says the women are doing a terrible job of that too.
Yeah.
And not skewing all of professional and public life in favor of women who, frankly, according to her, don't deserve it.
So the thing that I think underlies all this is this mistaken idea that the culture adopted 20, 30 years ago of trying to say that men and women are the same, that men and women are equivalent, that there's really no significant difference between men and women.
You think that's where things started to go?
Yes. Everything started to go to hell because of that. And that caused us to ignore obvious truths right in front of our face. It caused us to lie about things. It caused us to accept things that we knew that were not true. Mm-hmm. And what it did was it created an environment where women started to say and believe things that were simply factually incorrect and misguided.
I think that's where we've gone down. And you know what that's gotten us? I think it's that fat is healthy and men can become women. Like now we're in the where I want reality to be versus where reality is, and I think that's where Pearl is coming in.
That's part of her appeal. Is she's just saying no? Let's just deal with what is
actually going
true.
On here. Yeah. Yes, no. Tattooed, blue-haired women are super attractive, and you're a bad person if you don't agree.
Exactly.
Is where we're getting.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Well, anyway,
you, Pearl.
Pearl is very interesting. I don't agree with everything she says. Well, I don't agree with everything I say.
I definitely don't agree with most things you say. But she and that women shouldn't vote. That's a toughie there.
That is a toughie.
But I was that's all based on because they're not signed up for the draft. So anyway, that's
a different question.
Can I get on to one other thing here? Can I get on to Man of the Week?
Okay, sure.
Multiple Mans of the Week, or is it Men of the Week?
Men of the Week.
All right, multiple Men of the Week?
Yes.
Google has fired an additional 20 workers that it says were involved in protests last week over the company's contract with the Israeli government.
Okay.
All right. We have a generation of physically weak soy boys and snowflakes who think that they are so special.
Because they've been taught from kindergarten on that the most important thing to do with their life is to be an activist and a protester.
Right. And you don't need to do anything important.
Yeah.
You are already special.
Yeah.
And so your
voice matters.
You combine this snowflake, emotionally weak, physically weak, with this empowered, I can stand up to authority attitude, right? Which is teachers don't matter, bosses don't matter, the cops don't matter, right? So it's the worst combination of the two, and you get Google workers, telling the company how it's supposed to behave. So thank you for firing 20 of those and 30 more from a week later.
Yeah,
that's not how this works.
Keep it up, Google. There's a lot more people you need to fire, by the way.
Oh, but yes,
yeah. Okay.
But what I gathered this up as our man of the week. The next day, after this obnoxious university Hamas protests go on, I see the University of Texas. Just march in and arrest everybody.
Yeah.
Like in 5 minutes.
Texas and Florida are like, no, you can't do that.
We're not going to do it. Yeah. Right. And you have all the hand wringing and what are we going to do? Who are we going to upset? I mean, what are our options here? And then Florida and Texas go, all right, you do this, you're getting arrested.
Right.
And so, and Columbia, you expel the kids. You don't get any credits for that semester,
right?
And your parents have just lost $70,000, and now you have to go explain it to them.
Yeah,
I mean, are there parents going, "You stand up for your rights"? Or they're going, "What are you doing? You're killing me here."
I could have bought two.
I'm not really sure. You know what I mean? How woke ass their parents are.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't care how woke you are when it comes down to your wallet. That's when the rubber meets the road. And then Bob Kraft, who is the owner, who's valued at $11 billion and owns the Patriots, and is Columbia is his alma mater, is pulling out his dough.
Good for him.
So I mean, that's I started with Google, and I've got a trifecta. Men's of the week. Men
of the week who are pushing back and not taking the crap that
these pouty little entitled children, who were supposed to be adults, have decided that they've got the power to, with a total lack of respect for authority. And look, pushing back on authority is fine. That's okay, and especially when you're young. But good God, there's cops and there's there are cops to listen to, and then there are police to listen to, and teachers.
So I've got a question to wrap up this episode.
Thank you.
How do you think this episode is going to affect our social credit score?
Yeah, it's not going to go well.
Not going to go so well.
Well, maybe that's hurting our traffic. Speaking of those other boring dolts. Cheers.
Thanks so much for listening to Beer and Conversation with Pigweed and Crowhill. Remember to visit us at pigweedandcrowhill.com or send us an email at pigweedshow@gmail.com.